The white tiger cub appeared at the edge of the Shona village just after dawn, limping badly and making sounds that didn't belong in the Zimbabwean highlands. Tendai was performing his morning rituals as the village healer when he saw it. A tiny white tiger, maybe 3 months old, dragging itself through the grass toward the central meeting area. Not running, not stalking, struggling. White tigers weren't supposed to exist in Zimbabwe. Yet here one was, pale as morning mist with black stripes, moving like every step caused unbearable pain. The cub stopped at the village boundary, the traditional line no wild animal should cross, and sat down. It looked directly at Tendai and made a sound that pierced his heart, half meow, half desperate cry. A plea for help. Tendai's nephew, Farai, came running with a spear. "Uncle, what is that thing?" "I don't know. But look at his shoulder." Beneath the white fur was a massive lump, easily the size of a mango, distorting the cub's entire right side. A growth. A tumor. The kind Tendai had seen kill cattle and goats when left untreated. The cub tried to stand, stumbled, fell. It tried again, managing to stay upright on shaking legs. Then it did something that made Tendai's breath catch. It walked across the village boundary, breaking every natural law, and collapsed directly at Tendai's feet. Trusting. Surrendering. Asking. "It came to you specifically," Farai whispered. "The healer. How does it know?" "The ancestors guide all living things," Tendai replied, kneeling slowly. "Perhaps they guided this one to me." By now, villagers were gathering, women, children, warriors, all staring at the impossible sight. The village chief, Sakuruchirwa, pushed through the crowd. At 78 years old, he'd seen many strange things, but nothing like this. "What creature is this, Tendai?" "I believe it's called a tiger, Sakuru. They come from distant lands across the ocean. I saw pictures in a book once. But they shouldn't be here. They don't live in our land. Yet here one is. And he came to our healer." Sakuruchirwa studied the cub carefully. The ancestors work in mysterious ways. What does the cub need? "That growth is killing him. It needs to be removed or he'll be dead within days." "Can you remove it?" "I've removed growths from cattle. But never from a wild cat. And certainly not from something this rare." Sakuruchirwa placed his weathered hand on Tendai's shoulder. "The ancestors sent him to you. They wouldn't have done so if you couldn't help. What do you need?" "I need the council's permission. This is not a small thing, healing a creature that doesn't belong in our land, that could grow dangerous." "Then we call the council." Within an hour, the village council had assembled. 7 elders, the chief, the spiritual elder Ambuya Ruto, and Tendai as healer. They sat in a circle under the sacred mukwa tree where all major decisions were made. "This tiger cub appeared at our boundary and asked our healer for help," Sakuruchirwa began. "But if we help him, we take responsibility for him. What if he grows dangerous? What if there are others? This is not a decision one man makes alone." The debate went back and forth. Some argued it was too dangerous. Others said turning away a suffering creature would anger the ancestors. Finally, Ambuya Ruto spoke. She was 92 years old, the keeper of spiritual wisdom, and when she spoke, everyone listened. "I dreamed of a white lion 3 nights ago," she said slowly. "Not gold like the lions we know, but white as clouds. In my dream, the white lion came seeking the hands of healing. I didn't understand then. Now I do." She looked at Tendai. "The ancestors sent this dream as preparation. You must help him. But you must also do it according to our ways, with proper ritual, with respect for the life you're trying to save, with acknowledgement that all healing comes from the spirit world through our hands." The council voted. It was unanimous. Tendai would operate. But first, ceremony. Ambuya Ruto led the ritual preparation. She burned sacred herbs, asking the ancestors for guidance and steady hands. She blessed the tools Tendai would use, his knife, his needles, the medicines he'd prepared. She marked Tendai's forehead with white clay, the symbol of the healer's connection to the spirit world. "You don't work alone," she told him. "The ancestors work through you. Trust your hands, but trust the wisdom that flows through them even more." They prepared the operating area under the mukwa tree itself, sacred ground, where the ancestors' presence was strongest. Women brought clean cloths they'd been weaving. Men built a low table from fresh wood. Children gathered specific leaves Ambuya Ruto requested for the healing poultices. The entire village participated. This wasn't just one man treating one animal. This was the community coming together to answer a call for help. Tendai had help, his brother-in-law Farai, who assisted with difficult animal births, his wife Chipo, who knew herbs and medicines, and Ambuya Ruto herself, whose knowledge of traditional healing was unmatched. They had no anesthetic, so Ambuya Ruto prepared a powerful sedative tea from bark and roots, the same mixture used to calm cattle during painful procedures. They got it into the cub drop by drop until his eyes grew heavy and he fell into deep sleep. Tendai's hands shook as he made the first cut. He'd removed growths from animals before, but never something this large, never on a creature this rare and sacred. "Steady," Ambuya Ruto said softly, her wrinkled hand resting on his shoulder. "Feel where to cut. The ancestors will guide the blade." Tendai closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and let instinct guide him. When he opened his eyes, his hands were steady. The tumor was massive, rooted deep into the muscle. For 2 hours, Tendai worked with the focus of complete concentration, cutting, removing diseased tissue, tying off blood vessels with thread made from animal sinew. Chipo held the cub's head, monitoring his breathing. Farai assisted with tools. Ambuya Ruto prepared poultices, crushed herbs, honey from wild bees, clay from the sacred riverbank. "It's wrapped around the shoulder blade," Tendai muttered. "I can't get it all." "Take what you can safely remove," Ambuya Ruto advised. "Sometimes healing means knowing when to stop. The body and the ancestors will handle the rest." Tendai removed the bulk of the tumor, a mass of diseased tissue the size of his fist. He cleaned the wound with boiled water infused with healing herbs, packed it with Ambuya Ruto's poultice, and closed it with careful stitches. "Now we wait and pray," Ambuya Ruto said. She began singing, a healing song in Shona, the same song that had been sung over wounded warriors and sick children for generations. The whole village joined in. The sound of 50 voices singing together filled the air, a prayer made of music. The cub lay unconscious for 4 hours. The sun crossed the sky. People took turns sitting vigil, keeping flies away, singing softly. Finally, as late afternoon shadows grew long, the cub's eyes opened. Those strange pale blue eyes looked around, confused and groggy, then focused on Tendai. The cub made a soft chirping sound. "Welcome back, little warrior," Tendai said softly in Shona. "You survived. The ancestors blessed you." Over the next week, the cub recovered in a special enclosure built near Tendai's hut. The village children named him China, Shona for white, and they would gather to watch him, though always at a respectful distance. Tendai fed him meat mixed with healing herbs. Chipo changed his bandages daily. Ambuya Ruto visited every evening to check his progress and sing healing songs. On the 8th day, China stood and walked without limping. The surgical site was healing beautifully, showing no infection. But then came the complication no one had anticipated. A government wildlife officer named Toriro arrived with 2 soldiers and official papers. Someone from a neighboring village had reported the white tiger, and now the authorities were involved. This tiger was stolen from a breeding facility, Toriro explained to the assembled village council. "We've been searching for him for weeks. He needs to be returned immediately." "We saved his life," Sakuru Churwa said firmly. "We performed surgery. We nursed him back to health. And you want to simply take him? The facility is legally licensed. The tiger is their property." "That property walked into our village dying and asked for help," Tendai said, anger rising in his voice. "We helped when no one else would. Doesn't that count for something?" Toriro's expression softened. "I understand, but I don't make the laws. However," she pulled out her phone. "Let me call the facility director. Maybe we can find a compromise." An hour later, a video call was arranged with Dr. Moyo, who ran the conservation breeding facility. The entire village council, plus Tendai and Ambuya Ruto, gathered around the phone. Dr. Moyo listened to the story, saw photos of the surgery site, watched video of Chino walking without pain. "This is remarkable," Dr. Moyo said finally. "You saved his life with traditional methods. No modern equipment, no veterinary training, just knowledge passed down through generations and the courage to act." He paused. "I have a proposal." "We're listening," Sakuru Churwa said. "Our facility works with traditional healers sometimes, learning about herbs and natural remedies that might help our animals. What if we hired Tendai as a consultant? He could visit regularly, teach us about traditional healing methods, learn about modern conservation. And China could remain at the facility where he belongs, but Tendai would have access to visit him, continue the bond they've formed." "He wants to take our healer away from the village," someone muttered. "Not away," Dr. Moyo corrected, having heard the comment. "Visiting. Maybe 2 days a month. The rest of the time he stays in your village, continues his work there. We'd pay him well, money that could benefit the whole community." The council discussed it privately. Finally, Sakuru Churwa spoke. "We agree with conditions. Tendai remains our healer first. The village comes first. And any money he earns, a portion goes to the community fund for building the new school." "Agreed." "Agreed," Dr. Moyo said. 2 weeks later, Chino was transported to the facility. The whole village gathered to say goodbye. Ambuya Ruto performed a blessing ceremony, asking the ancestors to watch over the white tiger wherever he went. Chino rubbed against Tendai one last time, chuffing softly, before being loaded into the transport vehicle. "He'll remember you," Ambuya Ruto said, placing her hand on Tendai's shoulder. "Animals blessed by the ancestors never forget the hands that healed them." She was right. Tendai visited the facility twice a month. Every time, Chino would recognize him immediately, running to the fence, chuffing, showing excitement that amazed the facility staff. "He doesn't respond to anyone else like that," Dr. Nkyub, the head veterinarian, said. "Only to Tendai. The bond you formed during healing, it's permanent." But Tendai never forgot where he came from. He remained the village healer, treating cattle and people, teaching younger healers the traditional ways. The money he earned went toward the school, toward medicine supplies, toward improving life for everyone. 3 years later, Chino was fully grown, a magnificent white tiger weighing over 200 kilograms. He'd fathered cubs, contributing to conservation efforts. But twice a month, when Tendai visited, Chino would come to the fence and press his massive head against it while Tendai placed his hand on the other side. No words needed. Just acknowledgement. Just remembering. The village children would ask Tendai to tell the story, how the white tiger came asking for help, how the ancestors guided the healing, how the whole community came together to save a life. "It wasn't just me," Tendai would always say. "It was all of us. That's the Shona way. We heal together. We help together. We succeed together." If this story moved you, share it. Tell us in the comments. Does your culture have traditional healing wisdom that deserves to be honored? Hit like and subscribe for more stories proving that ancient wisdom, community cooperation, and compassion can accomplish miracles. Because somewhere in Zimbabwe, a white tiger lives because a Shona healer used traditional methods to perform impossible surgery, and a whole village came together to save a life. Sometimes the ancestors send us tests disguised as suffering creatures. Sometimes ancient wisdom accomplishes what modern medicine can't reach. And sometimes the strongest healing happens when an entire community works as one.